Hi, Facebook. How are you? My name is Lynn Sharif, and I have a heart for marriages. If I can help one couple get through one challenge, then I feel like I am truly walking in the purpose that God gave me. I have been covering a series called The Top 10 Marriage Killers. And in the past few weeks, I have covered, this will be my third week. The first week, I covered toxic people. Who are the toxic people in your marriage that could potentially kill it? The second week, I covered social media. How can social media potentially kill your marriage? And so this week, I wanted to cover lack of communication. Lack of communication is a huge umbrella, and obviously, I can't cover every single area because we'd be on here for about a day. But I can cover a few of the things that I think are important and I definitely want you to consider. So, why is it that lack of communication could conspire to kill your marriage? And and really, the reason that that could happen is because if you feel that the lack of communication is a problem for you, it means perhaps that you feel disconnected from your mate. You don't feel like you have connection, that there is no communication. So that means that perhaps you may not feel safe in communicating everything that's in your heart to your mate. So those things can really conspire to ultimately kill your marriage. So one of the other areas that I posed to Facebook on last week, and that is, what is your style of communication? When you and your mate are having a disagreement, how is it that you like to handle it? Are you a person that says, I need to talk about this right now? Or are you the other person that says, can we just table this and maybe talk about this later? And so I'm not going to say that one way is right or wrong because each person is an individual. But I will give something to each of those factions. And for the people that say, we need to talk about this right now, what I'll say to you is that oftentimes when you are a right now person, you may have a whole lot of emotion that's working with you. And what I've said about emotion and relationships is that when you let your emotional self in the driver's seat, it is like letting that crazy person, potentially crazy person, drive the car. So if emotion is driving you and you want to talk about it right now because of that emotion, that could conspire to work against you. And perhaps you may not be communicating in the most open way. And for the people who really don't want to deal with this right now, that I'm going to need for you to just put this on the back burner until next week. I am the president of that club. What I'll say is this. Oftentimes you want to put it off until, and then you just put a blank line in that space. Like, really, never is okay. But never is not okay. If you are a person who needs to deal with things further down the line, what I'll say is that you have to put a deadline on that, because I have been content to kick that can down the road forever. So actually saying, I can't talk about this right now, but can we reconvene tomorrow after work, after the kids are fed and in bed? Let's deal with it then. So for the people that want to deal with it now, be careful of your emotions. And the people who want to put it off, be careful that you do not put it off forever. So I want to also speak to three different groups as we talk about this big, huge umbrella of communication. If you want to establish good communication, I want to give you one thing. If you already have great communication in your relationships, I want to give you one thing. And if you need to reestablish good communication in your relationship, I also want to give you one thing. So for the folks that really want to create a good communication environment in your relationship, what I want to encourage you to do is to have and create a safe environment. A safe environment where each person is able to speak to their undercover concerns, their fears, their dreams, and not feel that that information is going to be used as a weapon to pierce your heart at a later time. So create that safe environment for your relationship where that person can speak and you won't just jump on what they say right away, but that you truly are able to hear it so that you can have the environment where people feel safe. And if again, it doesn't mean that you always have to agree. This is not to say that whatever they say, you're just nodding your head. Yep. It doesn't mean that. It just means that you allow that person to say what they need to say and that you create that environment for them to say it. And so for those people who have great communication and you want to continue to have that wonderful communication in your relationship, I want to give you another tip, and this is called interactive journaling. Because oftentimes in communication, when you're speaking back and forth, sometimes, emotions can get in the way, and sometimes you may not be able to say everything that you want to say. So interactive journaling can look two different ways. So my husband and I, we use the Bible app a lot. And so in the Bible app, they have devotionals. And they have a number of really great devotionals for marriage. And so we generally have 2 a week going. And so you read the devotional on your own. They have Bible verses, and then they have a part where you're able to write out what you thought about it. And then the other person can write about what they thought about it. And you can actually communicate in that way. And there are devotionals on so many different areas in marriage. But another way that you can do this interactive journaling is to actually have a journal. And perhaps there is a misunderstanding or something that's going on in the relationship. When you're able to write it out, you're not going to be interrupted, and you can write out everything that you need to say. Close the journal, leave it in a place where that person can find it, they read it, and then they can answer as well. And so it's a way for you all to be able to communicate without a lot of the arguments that could happen when you're going back and forth. So that's something that can really help you to maintain the communication in your marriage. And so for those people who perhaps might be in the camp of needing to reestablish good communication, I'm going to share with you a personal experience of mine. So I've been married almost 20 years, and life, it just hits you. Life has a way of doing that. And one of the ways that I sought to cope with that was, okay, I'm just going to put the brave face on and we're going to move forward through this thing. But what I was actually doing was really putting on a mask. It was putting on a mask that wasn't necessarily sharing all of my deepest fears and concerns, because it's like, oh, I can't say that. So I'm just going to put on this mask. We're just going to keep on going. We're just going to do the. That ended up really creating a wall or a barrier between me and my spouse. And I wasn't being completely true to my deepest fears and thoughts and concerns and dreams. And so it's a mask. And so what ended up needing to happen, and the Lord was so merciful in that he just provided just the right little nuclear earthquake to totally shake it up. And for me that mask fell off my face. Because honestly, there are just some times that in life, you might just have to just fall on your face and just be not okay for a minute. And that really is what needed to happen to me so that that mask could be just dropped. Because in order to have the kind of communication that is going to take you through the long haul, there can be no masks, there can be no secrets, there can be no barrier to communication between you and your spouse. That has to be the most safe place that you have. And honestly, if you don't have it, I need for you to pray to the Lord to get it. It may not be comfortable getting there, but I promise you, marriage is God's plan. And he will absolutely help you to get to his plan that is not going to always be comfortable. And so you cannot say, oh, Lord, the Lord just wants me to be happy. No, he never said that. He never said that he wanted all of us to be happy. There are going to be moments of profound unhappiness. But guess what? Through those times of profound unhappiness, it is going to sear off all of that surface stuff, and it's going to get down to the stuff that is about growth, because there is no growth without some tear down beforehand. Okay? So we've talked about a couple of things. We talked about lack of communication actually being the thing that can kill your marriage. We've talked about why that is. You're not safe. You may feel disconnected. And then we talked about what can you do to establish good communication in your relationship? What can you do to maintain good communication in your relationship? And what is it that you need to do if you need to reestablish good communication in your marriage? So I really hope that this has helped someone. So please tune in for me next week. We are going to have another of the top 10 marriage killers. You guys have a great week. Bye now.